I mean, he really is a global pioneer in the development and application of PEMF. So we're so fortunate to have him. He's on his 8th generation of this product that is here for any of you to sample today or to purchase or to talk about if you've already got one. And I think we're in really great hands to learn as much as we can in the next little bit about PEMF. So, Wolfgang, thank you. It's welcome.
Thank you very much, Diane, and warm welcome. Thanks for making the time to attend our informational lecture today about PEMF. I turned this around because I figured out that if I stand here, you are too close and I cannot face you. But I'm getting older, I always need a little bit of reference for me that I know where I am. So if it's okay, I'm standing here. It's okay for you, Mikey, as well with the video. So I brought a couple slides, and what you expect today, you will not hear something about the system which is lying here, because the system can be explained in 5 minutes how it works. It's pretty simple, it's pretty intuitive, but it is, and it was always for me the goal and the idea and my philosophy to educate people about the technology behind it and about why it does what it does. You hear all these stories and you think like everybody that can't be true, you know. But we are talking here about, and I want to make this really clear to you, we talk here about science and physics. So that means even if you don't believe in it, it will work. It's very important, you know? So it's not a question about you have to believe. We have this setting of hope. We talked in the morning about that. That always helps. If you approach something with a positive attitude, with a good spirit, with hope and with faith, then it usually works better. That, by the way, also explains the placebo effect, which is quite common in classical medicine. This is based on this idea. But it's still somehow physics and science. So don't forget it. But everything you hear today from me is not something I invented. I only invented the machines. But the technology behind and the science behind is something which developed over more than 2,200 years. Because even 550 BC, you know, ancient people were already healing people with magnets. So it's not really something new, you know. But as society evolved over time, some of the quite powerful modalities, they disappeared, but not because they are not good. It's just because they were suppressed by all kinds of events. The biggest event in the USA was the so-called Flexner Report. It was, I think, 1908. You know, where Adam Flexner, he published a report, and based on this report, the North American government decided that they only allow medical stuff and medical treatments and medical apparatus and devices which are backed up by science. So where there is scientific proof, you know. And since that time, very powerful modalities such as homeopathy, even chiropractic, you know, and also technologies like PEMF. Most of the technologies out of energy medicine, they were banned from classical medicine, but not because they didn't work. They were banned because there was no science behind it at that time. And till nowadays, not a lot of them made it back, you know, to the surface of classical medicine. But again, this was based on legal events and not on the fact that they don't work. Because energy medicine works quite powerful, and it is very efficient, and it's backed up by science, and it's nothing else than applying physics. So there is something going on, and what's coming out of these applicators. It's not a field, you know, a mystic field. It's an electromagnetic field, and its properties can be measured. Period. So whether you believe in it or not, you know, it works for you. You know, these people said, show me the study. I always tell the people, I'm gonna show you the study, I print it out for you, and you put it on the spot where it hurts, the study, for 16 minutes, and then you tell me if you improve or not. You know, that's how people are. So my name is Wolfgang. I'm coming from Switzerland. I have with me my wife, Veronica. We spend our life together since 9 years, 24/7. I'm still alive. And not only alive, I'm really happy and really grateful that you came into my life, because you're not only my best friend, my partner, and the love of my life, but you're also, and like Diane correctly said, the financial boss of Swiss Bionic, which means she's also the financial boss of myself, which means I don't have to keep on talking, you know exactly what I mean. But I'm doing fine with it. So the reason why I'm standing in front of you today is I got diagnosed with cancer when I was 26. I was a professional athlete. I was playing hockey, and I didn't feel anything, just a little hard knot here at my hip here. I went to the doctor. They made an ultrasound, and they figured out that there is something growing inside which needed to be removed ASAP. It turned out to be a tumor with the size of a fist, like this, which I didn't feel, which didn't bother me. It didn't make pain. And from one day to another, I was on death sentence, 70%. Because my diagnosis was pretty dramatic. And at that time, the survival rate was 30%. So I went through the whole classical medical practices and protocols. They did 2 surgeries on me, full stage of chemotherapy. The whole process lasted about 6 months. When I left the hospital, I lost about 80 pounds. And I was definitely not the same person than before. By the way, this month, this year, I'm gonna celebrate my 30th anniversary of cancer-free. Just to let you know. And the reason why I ended up staying in front of you is very interesting, because maybe you can relate to that when you have a severe illness and you get treated by the classical medicine. By the way, I'm not against classical medicine, because without the surgeon who took the tumor off, I would be not alive anymore. So don't get me wrong, you know, I'm not against classical medicine, not at all. You know, when it comes to removal or repair, they are really good. You know, there are other modalities where they are not so good, where maybe the holistic, the complementary, the alternative approach might be better. But like I said, everybody has its place, you know? And the main reason, when I left the hospital, the day I finished the last protocol of my cancer regime, they let you go, and the only message that goes with you is good luck. Yes. And maybe what happened to me, now you have to come in all 3 months to get your blood work for the tumor markers, and maybe for the first 2 years we're going to do an MRI or a bone scinti every 6 months, just to see if something flares up again. Other than that, hasta la vista, you know? And then you go out, and then you are on your own. I tell you, even worse when you're young, because when you're young, you don't deal with that. You don't deal with illness. You deal with party, with girls, with having fun, you know, with maybe planning a family, whatsoever. But you don't deal with that. And it's hard for a young person, for a young guy like me, if I remember, to deal with that. Also to see suffering your own parents more than yourself. You know, that's quite a load you're gonna carry with you. And I thought, well, there are two ways how you can face this challenge. You either neglect it, what a lot of people do. You know, they come out, they say, okay, everything will be fine. I just move on with my life. And then we will see. This was definitely not the route I was going, because I created interest in my illness, in everything what is connected with that, in the treatments, what are available. And then, you know, you start searching. And at that time when I started searching, Google was not invented. So you had to show efforts. You had to go to libraries, reading books. You had to attend conferences, lectures like you do today. I was sitting in the audience because I was eager to get some news about, you know, what I can do myself to become proactive, to protect myself from another cancer event. This was always in my mind. And so I collect a lot of information. In the meantime, while I was doing this, I started suffering from another disease, which was caused by the chemotherapy, and it's called insomnia. A very nice combination. Losing 8 pounds, having a body which is barely capable of keeping itself alive, and then you cannot sleep anymore. Some of you know what I'm talking about. we heard the stories like from you or from you. You know, you have days, and I had the same days than you, where I didn't want to be alive anymore because there was no reason it. Because you wake up and you don't feel anything. You just feel nothing. You feel like you're a black hole. You know, it's just nothing. And you know, thankfully, with my motivation for my own research, with the motivation to know everything about what I could do, I ended up on a lecture, and the guy in front of me, it was in Austria, was speaking about PEMF technology, pulse electromagnetic field technology. And this lecture took about an hour, and like you said before, it made total sense to me, what he said. And that was the reason at that time why I acquired such a machine, and I started using it. And after 4 weeks, I had my first positive result, because it was the first day and night after months where I slept like a baby for, I think, 12 hours. And then I woke up, and then my body felt different, because it started relaxing during the night, and I felt it when I wake up, that there is, you know, there is still potential, there is still life in my body. And that was the ignition for me, and I kept using it, and I was getting better and better and better, and until I had at least my spirit and my energy back. I didn't have my my physics back, because I had to gain a lot of weight still, but it brought me to the right path. And during that journey, I got more and more intrigued and interested about this technology, and then I ended up making the decision that I want to make this a profession for me. And I started selling devices, and then the company who manufactured that, they didn't look so nice. And I'm also an aesthetic person, you know, and I think design and the look of a product helps to sell it, to make it more sexy for the people who should buy it. And that was the beginning of my journey into PEMF. And that was about 28 years ago. And since then, I spent every day, every minute, every second in that field. And for me, it's not only a business, because if it would be only might be only a business without my story. I connect with it. But for me, topic number one is my cancer was the greatest gift of my life, because it brought me to what I'm doing right now. It gave me the chance to travel the world. It gave me the chance to meet people from all over the world, which is the greatest gift you can ever ask for. You know, I mean, we have offices in Hong Kong, in Singapore, in Canada, in US, all over Europe, and that is huge. you know, for me. I'm so thankful for that. And I could, you know, catch the chance to educate people about something which is very powerful, which sounds too good to be true, but which is science and physics. So there is nothing to hide. Everything is on the plate, you know. And yeah, and since then I recovered very quickly, and I started, you know, preaching PEMF technology. We went to the North America in 2005, first to Canada, and then 2006 to the US. And in 2011, we expanded to Asia, first to Singapore, and then to Hong Kong, Malaysia, Indonesia. And the cool thing about this technology, it doesn't matter which culture you belong to, which race you belong to, which language you speak, it always works. So that's a pretty cool idea. So it's just, you know, physics, and it has nothing to do where you come from, who you are, and what you are suffering from. So, and now we live in a new modern world, post-COVID. Everybody is angry, sad, desperated because of all what we had to go through, which actually unites us because we all had to go through the same stuff, no matter where we come from, right? And this 2.5 years, my opinion, I said it in the morning, it left quite a footprint on mankind, because people are not the same like before. And believe me, when you travel a lot like we do, you can figure that out. You know, people are just not open-minded anymore. They don't want to speak. They hide. It's kind of scary sometimes even, you know. But and it will take a couple years until this hopefully turns around again, because that's usually not what we are and how we are and how we act. But too much was taken away from us, and too much fear was spreaded, and that all leads to, you know, some kind of a very, very interesting society behavior right now, which hopefully gets better in the future. You know what happens in Europe right now with this horrible war, which is completely senseless. You know, it happens 2 flight hours away from where I live, so it's not like, you know, we speak about a distance from here to Denver. I mean, it's right in front of our doors, you know, and it probably affects us all on a global scale as well, even if you are a little bit further away, but still you get the news on a daily basis. And I think nobody of us ever thought that something like this should happen again in modern times, but it does, and it will always be. And therefore, when we look in the healthcare field, we have more and more people becoming ill. The illnesses we face nowadays are not compared to the illnesses we faced 50, 60 years ago, because our environment changes. We develop diseases which are unknown where they come from, and therefore which nobody knows how to treat them. CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome, burnout, depression, all kinds of mental issues, starting with children, autism, all this kind of stuff, you know, and also cancer. You know, statistically, every 3rd person on this planet will develop cancer within the next 5 to 10 years. So you count, you know. And the main reason for that is that our environment is not healthy anymore. We have pollution, we have a really, really bad quality of food, because everything goes into convenience, you know. Everything has to be fast, everything has to be available right now. And the worst part of it, we take this. We could simply say, no, not with me. You know, I'm gonna start cooking again, I'm gonna source my organic food and everything. You know, I'm just not accepting this. But we are taking this, mainly because of lack of education. Mainly because believe me, I know what I'm talking about. When you become educated about something, then it makes it quite easy for you to act, because you know what you are doing, you know. But if you don't, you just take whatever is offered. And that's why it's so important for me when I speak, no matter where in the world. I did more than 3,000, maybe 4,000 lectures, not only for people like you and me, also in universities with medical doctors, because they know nothing about energy medicine, and they are always quite astonished what kind of how powerful energy medicine can be. And I said, oh, we didn't learn that, you know, in the university, within that faculty. We never heard about that. But it sounds quite interesting. Is there science behind? Yes, there is science behind. We have more than, you know, about 2,000 scientific publications about PEMF. Peer-reviewed. I'm not talking about BS, which is somewhere on the internet. You know, I'm talking about peer-reviewed studies and scientific papers about this technology. And it's proven, you know, but because it's not part of education of classical medicine, it will not usually be introduced to you whenever you have to face a health challenge and you have to go to a doctor, to a medical doctor, or to a hospital. You know, only within the fields they use it already. An MRI, for example, it's exactly the same technology behind pulsed electromagnetic fields, just for a different purpose. They don't use it for therapy, they use it for diagnostics, to make a nice picture from you. But PEMF as a therapeutic form is not yet acknowledged, but not because it's not working, it's because it's not educated, you know? And nowadays, when we talk about PEMF, this is how I always call it when people try to Google something about PEMF. They're gonna end up in a chaotic, stochastic matrix of nonsense. Because when you Google PEMF, you know how Google works. The first page is always the companies who pay the advertising. So you will get sensational information about PEMF. Actually, not about the technology, but more about the devices and the companies. Because the company who pays the most, they will be on top. And because we are all lazy, human beings are lazy, they don't look for page 6 or page 7. Maximum page 2. And then they click on something and they go deeper. And this is the way how we acquire information nowadays. And Google is not what? No. Google is a search machine. So, and when you type in a term, it just looks through the entire internet based on the algorithms. They are pre-programmed and provide you with hits out of this. But it is not verified. It just gives you an information, you know, but it's not verified. Overall, the entire public information about PEMF is neither validated nor clear. But, and that's the cool thing, most of it sounds really great. Right? So that leads to the impression of a layperson that they say, this cannot be true. That's why I said it, you know, a couple of minutes ago, too good to be true. Right? And then if something sounds too good to be true, something must be wrong. Right? But there is nothing wrong. Here are no paid testimonials in this room. You know, and between you and me, the only reason why I'm still in this business since 28 years is because of these stories. Those keep me going. And because of my personal experience and because of my 110% belief in this technology and also the fact I don't need to believe in to benefit from it because it's science and physics. So That's how people acquire information, you know. It's all coming from Know-It-All University. That's how I call Google, you know. Oh, I'm sorry, I hadn't realized you received your PhD. You know, that's how lay people acquire information nowadays. Google search, social media, you know, you're gonna sign up for these groups, they share information, you know, they're all good, but they are not validated. You can write everything on the internet. And right at the moment when it's on, it becomes the truth. Right? And the next thing is, we are ever as clever as long as we don't know better. It's also true. All what I share with you is based on the science of now. Right? Who knows what's going to be tomorrow? In 5 years, maybe I will say, look at her. She's still vegetarian. Can you imagine? After all what happened, after the new science, what came out? Look at Diana. She's still driving a Tesla. A Tesla! Oh my God, a Tesla. You know? Because maybe we have the first studies, they prove that driving in an electro car causes cancer because you are sitting on an electromagnetic time bomb. Did you ever think about this? Who has a electric car? Well, good luck. Yeah, we do that because we have no science right at the moment which proves us that something could go south. Maybe in 5 years it's different. And like I said, even sharing my stuff with you today is based on now, what I know now. And it can change any moment. You know, we have to realize that. Nothing can be taken for granted until we know better. So even science, even evidence is always a picture. It's a picture of the moment. And we treat a lot of diseases nowadays completely different to comparing 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? And this is based on because we evolve in any direction. So when it comes to how to acquire information, we have a new trend in the internet. It's called artificial intelligence. You heard about that? ChatGPT. Did you hear about that? You can, if you want, you can experience that when you come home today, because you can sign up on this website and then you can experience artificial intelligence. And that's the new way of acquiring information from the internet. Because comparing to Google, artificial intelligence doesn't give you just search results. It actually interacts with you. So you can ask questions what you would like to know. Makes it different, right? When you go on Google, you type in dating websites or recipes, and then you get bunches of hits and results, and you choose whatever you think is good for you. So it's actually a decision made just by you quickly. And then, you know, probably you compare maybe 2, 3, 4 other things. And this is what your knowledge is based on now. When for this specific topic you search. With ChatGPT, it's different because you can ask the artificial intelligence questions. And I did that. I asked AI questions. And the first question was, what do you know about PEMF? Because I wanted to figure out how these kind of artificial intelligence algorithm works. And believe it or not, what you read here was exactly the answer what I got. Written like this. So I got a nice letter from artificial intelligence explaining PEMF to me. PEMF stands for pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. It is a non-invasive medical treatment that uses electromagnetic fields to improve the health of cells in the body. PEMF therapy works by delivering low-frequency electromagnetic waves to the body, which can help to stimulate cells and promote healing. The therapy is believed to work by improving circulation, reducing inflammation, and enhancing cellular metabolism. PEMF therapy has been used to treat a variety of health conditions, including chronic pain, arthritis, depression, sleep disorders. The therapy is often used as a complementary treatment alongside traditional medical treatments such as medication and physical therapy. PEMF therapy can be delivered through various devices, including mats, pads, and handheld devices. The therapy is generally safe, but it may not be suitable for everyone, particularly those who have implanted medical devices or who are pregnant. As with any medical treatment, it is important to talk to a healthcare professional before trying PEMF therapy. This is quite impressive, huh? So usually the professionals, where do they gather information about PEMF? Well, they took the professional route, clinical studies. I got some links here. You can find independent clinical studies about PEMF, no problem. You know, don't look for the industry-friendly studies because the outcome is already written before the study starts. You know, that happens quite well. It's very well practiced, you know, in every country. But usually you rely on peer-reviewed and conducted independent studies by independent sources who does not have an industry or financial interest. Those are the studies you have to look at. And if you look up a study, say PubMed.gov or similar, which is the National Library of Medicine, you will always find an abstract which is free to read. And usually in the abstract, you also see who did the study, the people who did the study, and also the organization who did it. And then you can really figure out whether it's an industry-friendly study or whether it was conducted by an independent source. Most of the studies to see in full have to be paid. You won't get them for free. And that's why professionals like medical doctors, they have access to such libraries where they can not only see the abstracts, but also the entire study documentation, including the study design, the outcome, and how they did it, the amount of people, the parameters they used in the study, and so on and so on and so on. So for us, it's important to get this. What is it, PEMF, and what do we need to know about it? And there are 5 important criteria that defines PEMF technology, and I will introduce them to you. First of all, PEMF stands for pulsed electromagnetic field. The problem with a pulsed electromagnetic field is that we do not have an organ to sense them. So if I expose you to an electromagnetic field, or if you are already exposed to one without knowing it, you will not feel it because you have no organ to detect it. I have a little device here. It's called a Micmac Handy. I can make electromagnetic fields hearable for you. So what you need to know is an electromagnetic field has nothing to do with magnets. There is not one magnet in these units. Electromagnetism is based on, like the name says, electricity and magnetism. So how does it work in physics? It's very simple. When you run current through a conductor, then you automatically create a magnetic field around it. It's, maybe you remember physics, first lesson, Ampere's law. This is exactly what Ampere's law describes. Whenever you run current through a conductor, you create a magnetic field around it. That's Ampere's law number 1. Ampere's law number 2 is every magnetic field is capable of inducing electricity. Sounds difficult, but I can also explain it quite simple for you, because Ampere's law you use when you charge your mobile phone. Because you have a battery, there's a lithium-ion battery inside. Maybe you heard about that. So in order to charge that battery, what you do is you put it on a charger, and you know, between the battery and the current, there is a built-in coil. And this coil, the current runs through, and a magnetic field will be gained around the coil. And this magnetic field excites the ions within your lithium-ion battery to move. When they move, they create friction and they create current. And that current is kept by the lithium inside your battery. And this is how you create current in your electricity in your battery, and the lithium stores it until it goes out again when you use the phone, and then you recharge it. You know, this is exactly the same principle. By the way, believe it or not, really remember what I told you right now, because this is exactly how the human body works energetically. We also need to be charged until we have enough energy, and once we're gonna utilize this energy, we need to be recharged. And this is a very, very unique process where most of the people have no clue how this works, but I will enlighten you later on. But I want to get back to the pulsed electromagnetic fields. With this device, I can make these fields hearable. So whenever I go close to a device which runs through current and which then creates a magnetic field, we might hear something. I have this projector here, creates this picture, and now listen what happens if I get closer to this. Can you hear that? Comes really noisy, huh? This is what you hear right now. That's an electromagnetic field. Look. Somebody has a normal watch? No smartwatch? Ah, here we have one. Let's see. Can you hear that? It's not your heartbeat. He gets an electromagnetic shock every second from his watch without knowing it. You know? He's even better because he has his mobile phone right at the heart. Very powerful. It's bad. It's bad because it's artificial information close to the most natural organ you need to thrive and survive, so it's definitely not good, you know? But did you feel that pulse? No, never. But it's there. The problem is you cannot detect it because you don't have an organ, right? And that's why we have a problem to deal with electromagnetic fields, because they are not capable for us. But they are there. They are all around us. And, you know, look what happens. This is my mobile phone. It makes all kinds of activities. Do you have my number? Okay, let Veronica call me. This is how it sounds electromagnetically when you get a call. And now I take the call. Now I took the call. So this is actually what your brain hears when you talk to somebody on the phone. Can you finish the call? Okay. Now it goes down a little bit. You hear the difference? But it's still pretty nervous. By the way, this being pretty nervous. Why is this mobile phone constantly emitting electromagnetic fields? Is based on the fact that it wants to stay connected to the provider. And we know that the reception of a smartphone is not everywhere the same. When the reception becomes low, the smartphone automatically amplifies the signal in order to stay connected. And I tell you this because a lot of people, not here in this room, but the people outside, they use the smartphone as an alarm clock to wake up in the morning. And they put it beside on the nightstand without going on flight mode. And then your brain is constantly, whenever there is a reception going on, is constantly hearing that. And just because you don't have an organ to subjectively detect it, the information is there. And if somebody is using the alarm clock, you can do it, but please put the phone on flight mode, because then it's not on reception anymore, and you eliminate 99% of the electromagnetic exposure just by doing this. And I promise you, you will sleep better within a couple days. Your insomnia, your bad sleep can be caused by such things, you know, and you can eliminate this just with pressing one button, without having any disadvantage, just by knowing it and doing it, you know. And you know how it is: if you do it 3 times, it becomes a habit, and then it's no problem anymore. So this is the story about electromagnetic fields. They are everywhere. And there are even the ones we cannot measure, but they are there. Those are the 250 TV channels which are in this room right now. There are all the information from the satellites which are in this room right now. There are all the information of all our different mobile phones, always interconnecting. We are literally not offline anymore, because our phone is constantly talking, sharing information. You know, we have WhatsApp, we have all that kind of chats. We are constantly exposed to that, you know. I know for a fact where all these civilization illnesses come from. It's mainly from this, because we are exposed to so much artificial information that we can't get through to the natural information anymore. And the reason nowadays why you feel so happy, so relaxed, so balanced when you're 2 weeks in the Caribbean lying on the beach is not only because somebody will serve you the cocktail to the beach, it's also because you're not exposed to that extent of unnatural information. That plays a huge role. And then what happens? You come back, and after 5 days being at work, flat out again. I want to go back. Yeah, I want to go back to vacation. You know, we have to understand that there is a connection between us and Mother Earth. This connection is built over millions of years. You know, and there is no room for artificial information. And we are simply getting more and more overloaded with electromagnetic fields of these unnatural sources. In addition, we get a very crappy food quality, you know, and we cope with it because people always say, I have no choice, I have to take it, but that's not true. You always have a choice. But choice is based on knowing what to do. So choice is based on education. And once you are educated, doors and windows will open. And you will find the stuff, what you're looking for. But without the education, you won't. But coming back, you know, this was just to bring electromagnetic fields a little closer to you, because we won't feel it, you know. And who knows, maybe in 20 years we will have an antenna here growing out, which gives us the additional organ to sense those threatening electromagnetic fields. But right at the moment, we are not there. And therefore, maybe you know that, like CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome, burnouts, is also a lot related to the extensive use of smartphones, of laptops, you know, and it's caused by artificial electromagnetic fields within a frequency and intensity spectrum where the body doesn't react in a positive way. You know? And coming back to our 5 parameters, those 5 parameters, waveform, intensity of the field, frequency, which is the content of the field, and resonance, the ability to take over a information and utilize it for your own benefit. This is what we call resonance. And at the end, coherence. Coherence is the situation when certain parts of something fit together in a natural or reasonable way. In the meaning of these properties, waveform, field strength, frequency, and resonance properties, they have to align each other within a certain window in order to create coherence. And only then we can create a health beneficial effect with PEMF technology. And a LCD projector is not designed for that. You know, an LCD projector is designed to display a picture here on this wall, and it creates the side effect of an electromagnetic field which is not coherent with what we resonate with. And therefore, unfortunately, we cannot use an LCD projector for pain relief. Right? So this is what I want you to understand. And let's look at the waveform. There is a very interesting physical fact that should be considered when you develop, design, and manufacture a PEMF device which is designed for health benefit, and that's the waveform. And a very specific property out of the waveform is crucial. It's how fast it rises, how fast it drops, and how fast it rises again. Because here in between, here is the induction. Here is where, you know, you get the information, you get the receiver excited for that information. And the more exciting the information arrives, the more exciting the response to it will be. Remember what we said? because this also what you asked me. What is the difference between the frequency of a flower and a PEMF device? Let's say even if they would expose the same frequencies. I said it's induction. It's the induction is the moment to excite, you know, the receiver. And it's like, you know, induction and only frequency, I compare it with friendship and relationship. Friendship is healing with frequencies, but partnership requires, hopefully, induction, which makes it more powerful and which differentiates it between friendship, right? And this is what's so important. When you want to have a really powerful PEMF device, this induction needs to be placed. And you need to apply the proper waveform. And for example, we use a waveform which is called a sawtooth because it looks like a sawtooth. We even go a step further. It's a triple sawtooth. And this triple sawtooth is a physical waveform. And this physical waveform is able to create these peaks and rises and falls very, very fast. And that excites our cells inside the body. And that creates the response. That creates the resonance. Without having a sophisticated waveform like this, a PEMF device is neither useless or not effective enough. So, if you look for a powerful and backed up by science PMF device, make sure that the waveform is at least a sawtooth wave, at least for the whole body mat. Otherwise, the resonance capability is almost zero, and then you will not benefit from it. From a manufacturing perspective and a development perspective, a sawtooth waveform is very difficult to create. It needs a lot of knowledge and engineering. But did you get that? How important a waveform is? And what you actually hear. This is this waveform shape. This is what you hear here. And between these pulse packages, thank you. This is one pulse package from here to here. And between this and the next one, there is always a little break. And then it starts again. And this sequence is crucial for the efficiency of a PMF device. Whether it creates resonance, whether it resonates with, ideally each of your 70 trillion cells, because that's what you are made of. And if it only resonates with 10%, we probably don't catch the arthritis in the back. And only the arthritis at the shoulder. But the higher the resonance effect, the more effective when it comes to counteracting illnesses or create healing reactions. So it's very important that we have a system which is capable to talk to each little building block of our body, because that increases the probability of creating a coherence effect. The second property is intensity. Intensity is very simple. Frequency is the content of the information. Right? Like I said in the morning, it's your favorite radio station. 101.5, 98.2, 93.6. When you tune in to that radio station, you're gonna hear the content. The song, the talk, whatsoever, the weather, the news, and this what you hear is the frequency. It's the content of the information. The second property of a magnetic field, equal to comparing to your radio station, would be how noisy you're gonna ramp it up, or vice versa. And that's the volume, that's the intensity. Whether you make the content of the information more or less noisy. And now the crucial point is, when you do that, when you change the intensity, you do not change the content of the information. The content always stays the same. When you listen to a song, whether it's heavy metal or whatsoever, it doesn't matter. When you adjust the volume, the song stays the same in terms of its content. The text will be the same, the instruments will exactly come at the same place, and and the harmonies come at the same place. You just increase the volume of the content of the information, but you don't alter the content itself. And when you increase the intensity on a PMF device, you only increase the volume of the frequency, but you don't change the frequency. This is very important, and that applies to energy medicine in any direction. Frequency is the content, intensity is the volume of the content. I tell you this 3 times because people always mix up frequency and intensity. This is something you should really know about it. And we run, or we start, or we develop electromagnetic fields by running current through a conductor. In our case, it's a coil out of copper wire. We are the only company in the world who is implementing in every applicator uninsulated solid copper coils with a quite thick diameter. Advantage of that design is when you run current through it, you create a lot of induction without using high currents, because the coil has a lot windings, a big amount of windings, and in the same time it has a big diameter, so it can take a lot of current in the same time, and therefore it can create induction without using high voltage. Our systems run all on 18 volt. That's why they are so safe to use. You cannot harm with them, but you have by far higher induction rates comparing to other systems which run on high voltage but have a poor coil design. So you see, it's, you know, we always think a lot helps a lot creates a lot, but it's not. The 5 properties have to align, and only then it creates the effect you are looking for, a health beneficial effect. And one of them is intensity. And believe it or not, the intensity is the less crucial part of all parameters. Much more important is the frequencies, the applied, because this is the trigger where the human cells react on, and not the intensity. So the intensity is very low, because in our systems we talk about maximum of 300 microtesla with the local applicators. 300 microtesla is about 5 times the value of the intensity of the electromagnetic field of the Earth. So it's still quite low. I tell you this, there are systems out, they create intensities, they are 10,000, 100,000 times higher than our system. But their induction rate is not 1% of ours. You know what I mean? So it is not so easy to determine which PEMF device is good or bad just by looking at intensity. And the worst part is some of these high intensity devices, they are literally dangerous. They can harm you in a really bad way. And that's why we cannot recommend such systems, especially not for home use. You know, when the responsibility of setting it up is on you and not on somebody who is skilled and educated in operating such devices. And it's simply not necessary. High intensity doesn't mean anything when it comes to PEMF benefit. You know, all the properties have to align to each other. There has to be coherence, otherwise no effect. And then we have the frequency. We know from research which frequencies we are resonating to, because it's science. It's there. You can find that, you know. This guy Ross Adey, he made a lot of scientific work in regards to how does human tissue react on the exposure of certain frequencies. And while doing his trials, he figured out that there is a so-called biological window, a frequency range, and within that range, we seem to resonate quite well. And interestingly, this range is between 0.5 and roughly 30 hertz. By the way, 1 hertz is 1 cycle per second, named the value of frequency named after Heinrich Hertz, a German physicist. So frequency is expressed in hertz. Maybe you heard about that. 60 hertz. I think the carrier frequency of electricity in the US is 60 hertz. In Europe, it's 50 hertz. What's funny, both values, Europe and USA, do not fall into that biological window. They are artificial for us. We're not reacting on that in a positive way because they just don't fit in the biological window. in order to create a health benefiting effect, the carrier frequency of an applied information has to be within that range. Carrier frequency, basic frequencies. That's why when we speak too fast, we don't understand people. Because we are not made for that. You know, we can maximum take 30 cycles per second. Everything what is over, we just don't react, or it even harms us, depending on how the information penetrates us. You know? But that's also important to know in terms of frequency. So again, if you would like to benefit from PEMF, you have to make sure that the applied frequency coming out of such a device, the carrier frequencies should be within that range. If they are not in coherence with what you need. And then it's not efficient anymore. And then we have resonance. To make it a little bit noisier. It was always tough for me to explain resonance until I found this video. What you're gonna see in a couple seconds. Do you know what a metronome is? Okay, you're gonna see a surface, and there are 32 metronomes standing on that surface. By the way, that surface is not solid. It's gonna it hangs on 2 or 3 lines, so it's actually capable of vibrating based on what the metronomes will do. And this was filmed in a laboratory in Japan, in Igekuchi, and this perfectly explains resonance. So what you're gonna see right now is there are 2 guys. They're gonna randomly kick every metronome. And you will see at the beginning, they're gonna keep their rhythm, but over time, something really interesting will happen, and that takes only about 2 minutes, and I will show you this now. I hope you can also hear it a little bit. But so look with which one they start. This one. So look with which one they start. So this one. Is actually the one. And this one, and then the other. So this one is actually the one who started first. All the others. And now they randomly start all the others. They vibrate with the same frequency. And you can see they vibrate with the same frequency, but not with the same timing. So what do you think is going to happen? So what do you think is going to happen? They will all go in resonance with They will all synchronize. They will all go in resonance with each other because they are all vibrating with the same frequency, but they are not tuned in yet. But they will use this phenomenon of resonance. This one, because this surface and actually, is not solid, this one, because this surface is not solid, and it started to give this one was started first, and it started to give the rhythm for the others. And you can see this is moving a little bit. You know, if you look very closely, because it's not solid. And now you see the first one's already aligned, right? And there is no force from outside, it just does it by itself. So they literally fine-tune. So they literally fine-tune. You can see more and more are tuning in. You can see more and more are tuning in. That's pretty cool, huh? That's pretty cool, huh? But as it is in life, there's always this one guy. But as it is in life, there's always this one guy. You know, this is the guy who asked for the study. You know, this is the guy who asked for the study. We're gonna convince him? Well, just wait a couple seconds. We're gonna convince him. Show me the study. Show me the study. Show me the study. So now we got him. And now look what happens to the surface. It moves more. And now look what happens to the surface. It moves more. It enhances, right? The force. It enhances the force. And now imagine the one which was kicked on for the as the first one is the PEMF device, and all the others are your cells, right? So the PEMF is providing you an information, and this kind of information can be understood by you because you literally vibrate within the same frequency range, basically. So that means when I apply an information from a sender to a receiver, and the receiver is capable of understanding this information, then it creates resonance. Meaning the receiver taking over that information and then amplifies it for itself and takes it over. And if this happens on a huge scale, and now imagine you are made of 75 trillion cells. And believe it or not, when you lie on this system, what you just saw, this is gonna happen to almost each of your 75 trillion cells. Then you can probably imagine how profound this technology works on your cellular level. There is no other health technology out in this world which creates such a profound impact on your holistically speaking, on your whole body than PEMF. Nothing else, not even close, you know. And it does it on a very gentle way. It does not harm you because it works with natural properties, with an inductive natural field. We don't apply digital fields. That's an analog field and it can be measured. It's inductive, you know. And it creates this kind of coherence and resonance. And this is the effect on which all these stories are based on, what we hear. You know, because we can address change to our cell. And the cell is the smallest building block. You know, every disease, every health starts on a cellular level. Whenever you have to suffer from a disease, the cells within that range the disease takes place or was evolved out of is the problem, the cellular structure. And if we can change this cellular structure for good, we don't have to ask what the indication is. The body just corrects it on a cellular level. And then these miracles happen without being the system designed for that specific indication or whatsoever. Because, and that's the answer on the question. The system does not know what your problem is, but the system enables your body to take over the information and to increase its healing properties, no matter where the problem is. You know, that's the big difference between holistic modalities and classical medicine, because the classical medicine always looks at the same thing. What is the symptom? You know, mostly they only work on the symptoms without even find the root cause, which doesn't make the situation better. It just lowers the symptom. Yeah, but this PEMF technology, it works on the root cause, on a disbalance of your cellular structure. And by enhancing the capability of getting this cell function back to normal, the result will be that the problem disappears without knowing even the problem. And that's what's the idea behind PEMF. And maybe you heard about that Schumann resonance. You ever heard about that? You know, the Schumann waves or the Schumann resonance. It's quite common in physics and also in science, because the Schumann wave, which is exactly 7.83 hertz, is exactly the frequency between the surface of the Earth and the exit to the stratosphere. It's a quite stable frequency, and it regulates the weather, the spherics, the lightning strikes. Everything is regulated by the Schumann resonance, and it's quite stable. And look at the frequency, 7.83 hertz, which is within the biological range, 0.5 to 25 hertz. So this is an essential frequency for us to thrive and survive. Well, and now look at the carrier frequency of a mobile phone, 800 to 1000 megahertz. 1 megahertz is 1 million hertz. So your smartphone vibrates with a carrier frequency between 800 and 1000 million cycles per second. This is not natural. And that's why when you carry a mobile phone on your heart will not get better from this, because it's constantly exposed to a digital frequency, and it will eventually turn into something worse. I know a lot of people, they developed brain cancer because of extensive use of the mobile phone on the ear. This is a no-go. Can't do that. You know, I'm not sure if I have it with me. The industry reacted very quickly. Do I have it? No, I have only the car key here. Must look. Do you have your earphones with you? The healthy ones? The other ones you don't have? I have to check whether I have it. You know, there are now everybody's using the Bluetooth. 2.4 gigahertz. You know, 1 gigahertz is 1000 megahertz. And they carry this. It's an active device. The whole day. There are people, they carry it the whole day. It's not good for your health. You know, by the way, if you're interested in research about electrosmog and all that kind of stuff, there is a lady in Canada, maybe you heard about her, Magda Havas. Did you hear about her? She published a lot of reliable research about, you know, the effects of 5G on people, and also extensive use of smartphone. I think she still has her own website. She's working at Trent University in Ontario, and is really specifically into research about electromagnetic exposure and its health-threatening effects. And her name is Magda Havas, Havas, Magda. Let me just quickly show you what it literally does inside your body. I was, you know, remember that picture with the synchronizing, with the resonance. You know, I really want to dive into it a little bit and give you also some scientific, some physical and also medical feedback, so that you get an idea. This is how a human cell looks like. More or less, every cell has the same structure. There is a membrane. There is an inside structure with all kinds of stuff inside, and right in the middle, that's the nucleus. That's where the DNA of the cell is encapsulated. You know, and in that interstitial room between the cell nucleus and the membrane, by the way, a cell membrane is always permeable, so it's capable of letting things in and letting and getting rid of things. You know. And that's how metabolism works, because what you see here actually is a very simple way of showing you how human or how organic metabolism works. Usually, everything what you eat and what you drink is floating around in your interstitial fluid between the cells, and the cell on the membrane has a lot of receptors and is always looking for stuff which it can recognize and it can invite inside the cell. There are receptors for oxygen, there are receptors for all kinds of nutrients, there are receptors for minerals, and whenever a mineral is floating by and there is a receptor and can recognize it, it invites it inside the cell. Because actually this is all the stuff you need, all the fuel to become absorbed by the cell. And those little fellows here, they are very important because they are the so-called mitochondria. And the mitochondria, they need that stuff as fuel to turn it into energy. And this energy has a name, it's called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. And this process of absorbing all the food, all the good stuff we eat and drink, or the bad stuff when we go to McDonald's every day, goes inside here, will be greeted by the mitochondria, and depending on the quality what the mitochondria get, they turn it into energy. More or less, depending on what is introduced. Right? So now you understand how crucial good food is, solid and liquid. When I talk about food, I talk about the solid food and also the liquid food. You know, you can harm with a lot of tapped water because there is a lot of chlorine inside. Definitely something the mitochondria don't like, which leads to less ATP production, less quality of ATP production, and less amount. And of course, this process creates waste, toxins, carbon dioxide, water, and this needs to be flushed out of the cell again. And this is an ongoing process. And this ongoing process is what we know as metabolism. And the main purpose of the human body in terms of the cellular level is to keep the cell itself alive. In order to do that, it needs to get the good stuff. It needs to maintain its permeability, to be able to absorb it. You know, the mitochondria, they're gonna produce ATP out of it, and because of its membrane potential, it's capable of flushing out the bad stuff. And now you see a lot of plus and minuses here, right? Those bubbles here are the so-called ions. Those ions are present in your entire body. And remember what I told you when I spoke about Ampere's law, number 2, that you can charge your battery with using Ampere's law 2. You create a magnetic field, and out of that, the ions become attracted. They started moving, they create an electric potential, which creates electricity. And this is exactly what we do when we apply PEMF to our body. We actually excite these ions here to move. They move inside, outside all the time. And they create an electric potential right at the membrane. You know? And the higher this electric potential is, the higher the membrane potential of the cell, and the better the ability to function properly. Nowadays, in modern medicine, we can measure this membrane potential value. It's measured in millivolt. And we know nowadays from research, because we measure it always inside, so it's a negative value, that a healthy cell is more or less roughly minus 70 millivolt. And for example, the membrane potential of the heart cell is about minus 120 millivolt. It's by far higher. Why? Because the heart is beating all the time. It has a high electric potential. The membrane potential of a world-class athlete is around minus 100 millivolt. Makes sense, because very fit, training all the time, and therefore needs a higher running metabolism in order to produce more energy. right? So that all makes sense. And now, a cancer cell. If you diagnose a cancer cell according to its electric potential, its membrane potential, a cancer cell will be always below minus 35 millivolt. In other words, whenever a human cell inside you reaches a critical value below 70, 60, 50, it doesn't function properly anymore. And if this situation is lasting for a long time, it can turn into something malignant. Because then the cell doesn't have the property to do what it should do anymore. And over time, it becomes literally somehow self-employed. So I don't know what to do, so I'm boring, I do something else. And then we talk about uncontrolled cell division, which is, in other words, a tumor. We cannot control the cell functions anymore. Then it grows whatever and whenever it wants. In order to prevent this, you have to keep the membrane potential of each cell high. By applying a magnetic field, a pulsed electromagnetic field, you excite the ions, the membrane potential increases, your ability to metabolize increases, your health increases. Because you are producing way more ATP than before, and this ATP, this energy, will support your healing processes, it will support your immune system, it will support to balance your hormone system, and so on and so on. In other words, PEMF is a holistic modality bringing back your cellular balance inside your body, and therefore ignite and maintain the healing capabilities of your body, no matter what you suffer from. Because, you know, we have people, they have horrible migraines, and then you put them on the PEMF device, and after 4 weeks, they have a horrible back pain, and the migraines are gone. Because the actual root cause of the migraine was not in the head, but it was somewhere in the back. How could you know that? You know, PEMF systems know where the problem is, but not because they know it, it's because they address holistically the same information to all of your 75 trillion cells. And wherever a problem shows up, the body kicks in and starts reversing it. Does it make sense to you? And the system doesn't need to be designed for any indication. You know, your body, when you attract it with something holistically, which the body is capable of understanding and resonating it, will take over the job and work this out. So it does. You know? So from a perspective of energy medicine, we're not talking about diseases. We always talk about mitochondrial dysfunction, because every disease starts on a cellular level. By the way, the mitochondria has its own DNA, and you can alter that. Epigenetics. You cannot alter the DNA of your cell. In the meaning of, if you suffer from a disease which is rooted in your DNA, at this point we cannot heal that, because you cannot get access to that information and alter it. The pillow works differently, just with a different waveform. It's not a sawtooth, it's a square wave. And the square wave is known from research and from science to be very effective when it comes to pain relief and increasing local blood circulation. That's the only difference. You know, technically and chemically, what happens when you use the pillow on a certain spot, and you get the square wave, you increase the immediate output of endorphins. And that, you know, is pain relieving. That's the only thing. You know? So what I forget, yeah, there's all kinds of symptoms if you suffer from mitochondrial disease or dysfunction, poor growth, muscle weakness, poor muscle tone, vision and hearing problems, learning disabilities, delays in development, mental retardation. You know, most children suffer from, they are not sick in the meaning of they have severe disease, they suffer from mitochondrial dysfunction. Their entire system doesn't get properly anymore what they need in order to survive and thrive. To survive maybe, but not to thrive. And you can always quickly correct those situations, especially with children. By the way, children respond very good to PMF because children are similar to animals. They don't ask questions. You know? Well, introduce PMF to a horse. It will immediately tell you whether it likes it or not. Because animals and children are not as stupid and as overloaded as we as adults are. You know, because we are all driven by what we learned over time and what we heard over time. And we don't believe so much in ourselves anymore. We believe more in others and what they tell us and what they show us, you know. But like I said, most of these diseases you're going to see here are not real diseases. They are maybe diagnosed diseases within the scope of classical medicine, but the root cause of it is in your mitochondrial function. You know? And coming back to the beginning of our afternoon session, remember when all these people were telling you in front of you what kind of results they're gonna have, what kind of almost unbelievable stories they're gonna share with you? Well, now you know why. It's not a miracle. It's just the capability of a technology to talk to each little part of your body in the same time. And this is quite unique. You will not achieve this with any other modality. And the whole thing with measurable, natural values. So it's actually there. I can make it hearable, you know, even for you. Even if you don't feel anything, your cell feels it right away. We just have not the organ yet to detect it. It is estimated that about 80% of modern diseases have to do with mitochondrial dysfunction. And not genetics. And everything which is not genetics can be altered, can be reversed. You know, and that's the good news. There is Gary Ryan, he's known as the energy doctor. He said, based on research that was done at Yale, it is apparent that just about any pathology in the body is preceded by a drop in cell charge. So he admits that everything happens on a cellular level, good and bad. Now we have technology that will reach down to the level of a cell that has lost charge, and due to the characteristics of the pulse, which I explained to you, it's very important, bring that charge back to normal or a more normal situation which allows it to replicate and produce a more normal cell. In essence, all health is inside your cell, and it always will be, and it always has been. You know, and the idea of PMF is to address with a low frequency, with a proven and effective waveform, you know, that matches the biological window. It will address your cell, it will increase the ion transport, and therefore improve the cell membrane potential. Your entire metabolism is running better, and your body literally starts healing itself. I said that already. So, finally, the summary. What does PEMF do? According to all its functions I explained to you, stimulates cellular activity, promotes neural regeneration, brain function, improves neuromuscular function, increases blood circulation in around damaged tissue, improves microcirculation. So we also talk about the little tiny parts of the tissue, increases supply of oxygen, which is, by the way, a very good thing when somebody suffers from cancer, because cancer usually grows in an anaerobe environment. So if you enrich oxygen around a tumor, the tumor will not be very pleased about it, because it usually grows in an anaerobe environment. You increase ATP production, stimulate RNA and DNA production, accelerating protein biosynthesis by electron energy transfer, increase your calcium transport and absorption for stronger bones, joints, and muscles, and enhance the cellular and tissue elasticity with increased collagen production. So PEMF also makes beautiful. And believe it or not, we have a lot of people, when they use PEMF for more than 6 months, and you didn't see that people for a long time, which usually happens to me from time to time when I travel. And I look at some people, I say, this is such a difference, you know, because you remember them from sitting in the audience, and then after they're using it for a couple months and you see them again, they are glowing, they have just a nice color of the skin, they look more vibrant, you know, they have a different vibration. This is pretty cool, I tell you, you know. But it's all down to the cellular level, and it just makes total sense. So it's not a miracle. It's just the result of the effect which it creates. I think I copied that twice. We must go a little bit down. Here, it also important, it accelerates the detoxification. So it's good for detox. You know, PEMF as an accompanying modality for detox, perfect. Logical, because again, you know, you get flushes the toxins out. The better the metabolism is running, the better this process can be performed. It boosts your immune system, decreases swelling, inflammation, and pain, supports body's internal safe regulating and healing mechanisms. And for all people who cannot imagine how it would look like if we could make a PEMF application visible, it will probably look like this. We have 6 coils built in a whole body mat, divided in 3 pairs, 1 pair on top, 1 in the middle, 1 in the lower section, and it emits this electromagnetic field, which is, by the way, lower at the head neck area and increases towards the feet. Why we did that? Because it's the way how we get the electromagnetic field of the earth. Higher at the feet, lower at the head area. And this is exactly how it looks like if we would put you on the system right now and would be able to make these electromagnetic fields visible. This is how it would look like. That's the end of my contribution to this afternoon. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you get something out of it. If you want to try a system, you can do this now. We have a couple systems set up for you. Do you still have any questions? Let me know, ma'am.
Yes, my daughter has stage 4 ovarian cancer, and I was wondering, I know PEMF will help, it can't cure it, but what would you, how often should she use it?
Is she already went through surgery, everything, so yeah.
Surgery, a lot, still going through chemo.
And the cancer has spread it already?
Not yet. In fact, the chemo has done some good.
Okay. So it's not metastasized yet.
No.
No. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Well, in general, PEMF is always recommended as an accompanying therapy for cancer. Legally, I cannot give you any advice. You know that, but I see the best protocol in using low intensities, not high, low intensities with the PEMF device. You have a device, a PEMF? Yeah? Okay. So Intensities with the whole body mat 25, maximum 50. More important is the consistency of using it, at least 2 times per day, if possible. Morning and evening would be good. And in the morning 25 with 8 to 16 minutes, and in the evening I would lower to 10 intensity, but increase the duration to 24 minutes. And the local applicator only if she has some discomfort or pain in certain areas. But the whole body application is more crucial for cancer. And then in addition, she should hydrate very well with a good quality of water, because that increases the elasticity of the interstitial fluid, which increases the capability of the red blood cells to transport more oxygen. In conjunction with PEMF, you enrich the entire body with oxygen, which is something, like I just mentioned, which the tumor cells don't like, because they usually tend to grow in an anaerobe environment where there is no oxygen. So that means the more oxygen you are capable to deliver inside your system, the more difficult it will become for the cancer cells to divide and to grow. That's more or less the protocol. Other than that, the problem, you know, I'm so into that because you know I had cancer as well. So there is no magic bullet for a cancer treatment, because even every cancer is individual, obviously. But a very healthy diet always helps. And healthy doesn't mean necessarily that you should not eat this or should not eat that. I think diet, from what I learned and what I understood, like I said, we don't eat meat since 5 years, but other than that, we eat everything. But balance. I think it's all about balance, you know? And it's not about not doing this at all anymore or not doing that at all anymore. If you look around our entire life, our entire organism, if you look in a relationship, if you look in friendship, it's all about balance, you know? Yeah, it's all about balance, and that's why sometimes a glass of Prosecco, why not? You know? Really, I mean it. Why not? You know? Just not every day a bottle of Prosecco. But why not? You know, if it gives you pleasure, or if you have to celebrate something, that's something good. That's something positive. And that sometimes require a glass of Prosecco, because it's just part of the celebration. And there's nothing wrong with it. You know? Everything is about balance. Everything. You know?
One more question. You said you shouldn't use it with medical implants. And
Yeah.
If I don't use my medical implant anymore. It's just
Did you throw it away?
No, I can't cut it out, darn it.
Yeah, but it's probably we not talk about a pacemaker, right?
No.
Okay. So you have an implant probably to lower your pain or give you some stimulus, or...
Well, you must know it's for urinary incontinence.
Okay, but that's not a problem. You can use PEMF. It's not a problem. Yeah, that's not a problem. There was, you know, this whole thing about why the electronic implants are contraindications is by law, because in the 80s and in the 90s, when they start building in the pacemakers, those pacemakers were so-called unipolar pacemakers, which were very sensitive on external electromagnetic fields. So literally, people, when they had an implant, a pacemaker, and they were preparing their food at the microwave, the pacemaker stopped working, you know, because the electromagnetic exposure from the microwave was so strong that it didn't work anymore. And then, you know, beginning of the 2000 years, they started to implant bipolar pacemakers with backup programs, which actually prevent from this, that it happens again. And but still, it is a leftover of contraindication by law, and we have to follow that rule. But between you and me, even if you have a pacemaker nowadays, which is not older than 20 years, because I think from the year 2000 they started to implant only the bipolars, then nothing will happen. Because again, the intensity which is coming out of the applicator is too low to create an interference, and that's why it will not do anything. Yeah?
So, too much to go into on this question, but is there...
Don't ask me then.
No, don't joke. The end question, does this PEMF stimulate stem cell growth?
No. Well, maybe yes, but I cannot prove it to this date.
Is there any preliminary research?
Not that I know of. Well, there is probably, because you know I checked the interest of science in PEMF is ever increasing.
Yes.
You know, we have a development. We have almost 150 to 200 studies each year now published about PEMF, which is a lot, by the way. You know, from all over the world. We have already, only on PubMed this year, I think 63 new studies about PEMF, only in 2023. So there's a lot going on. And with stem cell, I didn't dive so much into that yet, but maybe I should do it. You're right. I should really, yeah. But check on PubMed. Just type in the two prompts PEMF and stem cell and look if you get any results. The last
new research on
yeah.
overactive bladder. I do know that.
Yeah, there is a lot of stuff going on. But yeah. By the way, who owns a IMRS Prime? So you have already, there is a fast start program which is called Solfeggio 9, which nobody knows what that is. Most of the people, right? This is a specific fast start program for DNA repair. Just to let you know, I just couldn't call it DNA repair because they would put me into jail.
How about the love frequency?
Pardon?
Love frequency.
Yeah, exactly. It contains this very specific 9 frequencies, which also contains one of the major ones, which is 528 Hertz, which is responsible for DNA repair, which is scientific evidence out for that.
So wait, you're saying that's already built into the Prime?
Yes.
I've seen it on there, but I never knew what to do with it.
Yeah,
How
exactly.
do you recommend using it?
Yeah, just for your as a shower for your DNA.
So like, would you use that in addition to, instead of the whole body application?
No, it is a whole body application.
So it's just like, I know that the heart frequency is like 528, I don't remember what solfeggio is.
Yeah.
So you're saying that if you want to get that solfeggio frequency, you would do that in addition to what you're already doing?
Yeah, you just maybe, if you own a machine and you have the gift that you can use it on a daily basis, then, you know, instead of a morning regular PEMF session, do a fast start program with solfeggio.
Or afternoon, because you were so mysterious about it. You said, just try it and let me know what you think. And
Yep.
I'm so drawn to it in the afternoon if I feel a slump coming on.
You see? Yeah.
Always do solfeggio scale.
Yeah.
I feel better now. I understand why.
But
Yeah.
can you use it concurrently with any of the other applications?
No.
No, it is an application, a very specific one.
Right, but you can't run solfeggio while you run the whole body applicator.
Well, it runs through the whole body applicator.
Okay, but it's its own separate.
It's just a different frequency spectrum.
Cool.
Yeah, it's cool, huh? And by the way, solfeggio comes from, this is ancient healing. You know, the solfeggio frequencies, for example, are even built in the Gregorian chants. You know, you have these specific frequencies in all these songs from Gregorian chants. That's why solfeggio is mostly known with sound therapy. But we are the first company. We're gonna supply solfeggio frequencies with PEMF, which makes total sense, because then we can address it to the whole body. Wait, just
You may have noticed that I've fallen asleep a few times during the presentation, not because it isn't fascinating, but because I've been suffering from insomnia for a long, long time.
yeah.
And I used the mat consistently for a period of time to no effect. Is there an ideal, is there a, can you?
How did you use it?
Just doing the, in the morning 50, probably in the afternoon at 25, and then at night 10, 3 times a day.
Yeah. Try lower, try higher in the morning, go on 100 in the morning
100 in the morning, yeah.
with 8 minutes. For now, skip the afternoon session and go on sensitive for 24 minutes in the evening.
I'm sensitive.
Yeah,
So
because
100, say that again?
yeah, 100 in the morning. We need to force your blockage to become unblocked, because many people, when they suffer from something really chronic over a long time, they suffer from a so-called regulation blockage. So that means if you really don't apply the correct stimulus, which can unblock this, you can do this forever and it will not do any effect. And by increasing the morning session, we force your system to become a little more active. And with the sensitive in the evening, we do exactly the same. We try to really get you to a very, very relaxing stage. And I believe if you do this for 2 to 4 weeks, first of all, you're gonna fall asleep on the mat in the evening.
Yeah.
This is what I expect.
Yeah.
And you will become more active during the day, because you need to get out of that vicious cycle. Because it's not that you cannot sleep, but you always sleep at the wrong time, at the wrong place, right?
Yeah.
Because you just cannot get yourself through it anymore.
Right.
So for you it's more like to find a rhythm. So we need to force your biological clock to work accordingly to the time of the day when you need certain activities or when you need to relax. Try this, I'm sure it's gonna get better. Okay, was you?
I've been using the professional one primarily to stay in cancer
Mm-hmm.
remission. And I've allowed myself to gradually keep going up and up. And with the new system, I'm interested in the near infrared.
The far infrared, yes.
Far.
It's not near infrared, it's far infrared. FIR, not near infrared.
And that's most therapeutic, right? Because
Far infrared is the most therapeutic one, exactly.
so does that, well, the question I asked earlier made me, your answer made me think that I'm going way too high.
With
Sometimes
intensities,
I
yeah.
put it up to 400.
Yeah. Why you do that? Because you think it helps more?
It was my mistake in understanding of using the sensor. In my mind, I thought it would give it the ability to cover the ranges better.
If you put it on 400,
Yeah.
yeah, but we discussed it already.
So now I'm
So
going down to 50.
you start from a middle intensity and let the autopilot do the work. Because when you start from a middle intensity, it can go both ways, which you didn't allow it by starting on 400, because it could only go down, because it cannot go higher.
But if you're on the sensor at 400, it stays at 400?
No, but the problem is if you stay on the hexagon on the sensor for 400, and after 2 minutes you have an improvement in HRV, it cannot go higher with the intensity because you're already on the highest intensity, and that's why you have to when you use the HRV monitoring of the system, you always have to start at the middle intensity. Always.
Does the infrared work concurrently with?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that I developed a new applicator where you not only get PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic fields, but where you get in addition far infrared. I don't know, do you know about far infrared? Maybe you heard about the far infrared saunas,
Yeah, probably.
right? And You actually, the hybrid applicator we developed contains of pulsed electromagnetic field technology and far infrared simultaneously in one application. In other words, you don't need a far infrared sauna anymore.
So it's always working.
It's always working, yeah, you want it. And by the way, it creates a very nice warmth.
It is amazing.
It's really cool when you lie on it, you feel really how it warms you. And it's that's for the first time that you feel something when you use a PEMF technology with the far infrared function simultaneously enabled.
And
But
it's
you can
really
disable
on it.
Yeah, it's better than a sauna because you're closer to the exposure. You know, at a far infrared sauna, the panels are further away, and here you directly lie on the panel. By the way, we create far infrared through a layer with carbon fiber wire, which is a pretty sophisticated way to create far infrared waves, because they are really active and they work pretty nicely.
Far infrared's okay in the morning, it doesn't disrupt your
No,
circadian.
no, not at all. Far infrared is always good, as is PMF. It's always good, you know, even at 3 o'clock in the night. But maybe not for you right now.
But why did you have him drop the middle treatment of the day?
Because we need to find a rhythm. We need to tell the body exactly when it should become awake and when it should fall asleep.
So, but I still don't understand the logic behind eliminating a midday treatment.
What is
You
the
just
lo-
said PEMF was always good.
Yeah, it's always good, but we have always these exceptions. And I believe that he is so into that vicious cycle that we need to set the stimulus right when we need it. And we need to tell the body two things. Now you wake up, and now you go to sleep.
First thing in the morning.
Yeah,
So that's supporting the cortisol surge, the morning.
yeah. I mean, that's a result of it. Yeah, but we need to speak to the body clear now. You know, and usually the more simple it is, the easier is it to understand. And that's why I just believe that this is the way. You know, even if it makes no sense to you.
I mean, that does kind of make sense, but at the same time, like, I think of when people have a more chronic or serious problem or cancer.
Yeah, but he didn't have any results, so we have to change something.
Right, okay, so that's it.
Yeah.
You start with 3 times a day. If it doesn't work, you change the intensity, you change the duration.
And speak a little bit clearer what I want. So that means in the morning I want you to be active, and in the evening I really want you to calm down quickly. And that's my philosophy, how to approach with energy. And if the gentle approach, which is always good, doesn't work, and if he demands a result, we have to become a little bit more precise to tell your body what it needs. That's, yeah, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think so.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
No? And never lose faith and hope. Never forget this. The protocol of hope and faith is always a good additional thing. You know? And like I said, I'm a cancer survivor. If I would lose hope from the beginning that I will not make it, I will probably not be here. You know? So this is so important in whatever happens in your life. Never lose faith and hope. It's very important.
I just wanted to make the point that I had cancer, and I had that experience of going through radiation for pretty intense for a long time, and then when you're done, they ring a bell and you're finished and bye.
Exactly.
And so it was awfully nice for Diane to say to me, you know, tell me about the mat, and we've had 1 or 2 of them for quite a while. And I just find it interesting because I've always thought to myself, it gave me an edge. You know, I just feel like it helps me stay ahead of the curve. I'm not using it for any particular symptomatic relief.
Yep.
And I think that's a problem with people in this society. He wants to take a sleeping pill. It should fix it tonight. This isn't, you know, this
You're
isn't
so
the
right.
conversation. the conversation when you talk about holistic, it has to be all of these things, and it has to take time. And one has to allow the healing to take place. And the hope part is that, or the faith is just saying, this takes time. It took all this time to get to this place. But our
Exactly.
society is like big pharma, let's take the pill, and oh, that didn't work. So if something like the mat doesn't work tonight, or in 2 weeks, well, that didn't work. So now we're on to the next thing.
Exactly.
And that's a
perfectly
problem.
explained. Yeah, perfectly explained.
I mean,
And-
it's a challenge to move beyond that and to say, let this thing take the time that it takes. It's a process.
Even a good heart attack has to be deserved and earned.
She's a health educator.
Yeah, but you have to earn your heart attack. You don't get it overnight. You have to do things wrong over a
For
very
years.
long period of time, and then you finally get one. You know, that's the result. That's the present you get. And sometimes healing takes time as well, because you need to reverse something, especially when it comes to causal healing, and not, you know, just lower the symptoms with a baseball bat.
Right, exactly.
You know? But like I said, I'm sure if we allow now to speak a little bit more clear to your inner clock, I believe that makes a difference. You know, and I can't tell you why. Maybe it's just experience.
No, it feels right. What
Yeah.
you're saying. Absolutely.